This is how we're starting. We're already recording. So
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Wait. What happened? You fell
Okay,
off?
off a horse, a fast moving one. Um, so we were out, we were in Missoula,
Okay.
and I love it there. And it happened to be Dana, who's glam and assistant TM and best friend and everything.
Yeah.
Um, it was her birthday, so we flew her roommate in, who's also from Missoula, from Nashville, and we were going to go on a horse ride. And we know this really amazing couple that has this awesome beef farm, and they have great horses. They're all used for work, so
Hmm.
they're all very well behaved. And we rode all day. We rode on little teeny tiny trails with cliffs on either side. We rode across a bridge and literally inside a river and with dogs. And you could sit on these horses and eat a lunch if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I had switched horses at some point, because on the way back to the house, because the horse I was on was kind of stubborn and I
Uh-huh.
was just tired of arguing with her. So I switched over at the ranch owner's recommendation, switched to this when she's younger, without as many opinions. If we didn't shorten my stirrups, he's a tall guy. If
Yeah.
we didn't shorten my stirrups, I was like, we're like 15 minutes from the house. So then on the way back, a few of the people that were riding with us decided to race from the back of the line to the barn. And when they ran past good old Jenny, Jenny was like, "Me too," and bolted. And it would have been fine. She wasn't bucking or anything. It would have been fine, except I lost my stirrups. There wasn't a way to stay on the horse.
Yeah.
And I tried with all of my might and all of my knowledge. I grew up on horses, to fix it. I tried to catch one of the stirrups, and then I leaned forward, while grabbing the hold of the saddle horn, to grab farther down on her reins,
Yeah.
and I went over and landed on my head
Oh
and busted it
wow.
open and stopped breathing.
Oh my God.
So it busted my head open and I wasn't breathing and it was awful. But luckily, two of the people with us, one of the ranch owners is a physician, and another one of our friends was a nurse who had just come to join us for the morning. So they did CPR until the ambulance arrived. And also the ranch owner got on I don't know which, I guess he stayed on his horse. I don't know which, I don't know why I wouldn't remember, but he got on a
Yeah.
horse and rode fucking cowboy style to go fetch an ambulance.
Oh my
We're in the
God.
middle of the woods in Missoula, Montana, and he just there he went. He went and got the ambulance.
Oh my God. You know what's funny is I was like, oh, this will be a funny story. And you're like, well, I stopped breathing and there
It
was
was so bad. But
it's terrible.
it was awful. But it was but that was like two. We just celebrated the second year away from that. And on the first year anniversary of it, I went back to the because we were in the same place. I went back to
Yeah.
the exact ranch and talked to good old Jenny.
How's
Um,
she doing? She good? She feel
she's
bad?
good. Yeah, I was like, I just want her to know that it's not her fault, and my therapist was like, "Hey, kiddo, guess what? Jenny doesn't speak fucking English.
Yeah, Jay don't give a fuck,
She
dude.
hasn't thought about you a single time."
Dude,
No,
she's like, get this bitch
she
off
was
my
lovely.
back.
I
That's what's
know.
that's the thing I've learned about because me growing up in the Washington D.C. area or living in Los Angeles or living in New York, and the real first finding out what it's like to live in that world of like the country artists and south in the United States, which is like you guys do crazy shit like go horse riding and racing and live in places like with like Kalikazoo and Kakakaliku and all those different names.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. If you're like a Yankee like me, it's like horse riding. What are you talking about? No, like I'd
I've
never
always
do
thought it was
that.
interesting that we call it horseback riding. Why do we call it horseback riding? Where else would you sit on the horse? Why do
On
we
the
need to specify?
Isn't it kind of like isn't it also like you're on more of its backside, right? Like you're
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
like
you're on his back, and we do the same thing with eyeglasses.
what do you mean? They're not really eyeglasses, they're like nose
Well,
face
what
glasses.
are you gonna have? Were you gonna call them butt glasses? Like that's like why is it so redundant? It's just horseback riding and eyeglasses. I've always been like, I wonder why we say that.
I've ridden a horse before, but the idea of me like racing one or like riding like that, that's something that I think I would love to do. But did you feel comfortable? Like you've grown up kind of in that world? Like, is that why you were
Totally.
like, yeah,
Yeah, I grew up on a cattle farm and we had horses and mules and all of the things. I mean, I don't want to ride a bull by any means, but I grew up riding horses. So I was completely comfortable with if we're doing a 3 hour ride, a 6 hour ride, whatever, I'll be fine. My legs will be sore, but I'll be fine.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so that was a freak accident. And it pissed me off later when I was able to be a person again, because I don't snowboard, I don't jet ski, I don't
yeah,
skateboard, I don't do anything that could possibly injure me because I'm not the only person who can't go to work if I get hurt.
yeah. Oh yeah,
There's 14
you're a
other people.
business. Yeah, you are a
Yeah, there's 14 other
business.
people who don't get to go to work if I get hurt. And I wasn't doing anything stupid. So I was really just like, what are the chances? But
Yeah.
that's what happened.
How are the rest of your employees? Because I miss you guys so much. I'll be completely honest with you, Ash. I turned down sex last night so I can make sure I got enough sleep for this podcast because I was that excited.
That is
So
amazing.
thank you
That is
very much.
amazing.
I know. I there was a girl that I hang out with here in Minnesota when I come to town, and she's like, the only night I can hang out is Friday night, and I'm like, I got the shows, and then I got Ashley McBryde in the morning, and she's like, who's Ashley? She's like, do I have to kick her ass? I'm like, no, 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 it's a podcast. You have nothing to worry about. My God, but it's the truth. I swear. This
That
is
is that is a level of commitment. And we were late coming back across from Canada last night. So
yeah.
we had to get like leave the bus at like 4:30 in the morning and you know how all of that goes. So getting up, I was like, oh, what time is it? Surely it's almost 9 o'clock. And I was like, oh my God, it's 10:30. I jumped up. I'm in pajamas, like throwing everything together. And I was like, I've got Josh. And I texted Dana and I was like, oh my God, my hair is a mess. And she was like, you're going to be fine.
She's like, my phone's updating. Come on, quick.
Oh God,
I'm so glad that you're doing this, and I'm so
me
like,
too.
I mean, Adam can tell you just like how excited we've been giddy about this. For all the listeners of the podcast, you know that I was on the Jelly Roll tour. Ashley was one of the supporting acts on the Jelly Roll tour, and I had heard your name prior to it. And then when we started working together, I think it was about like 2 weeks or so weeks into the tour. Immediately, I was just blown away by your music. Now, like this is coming from someone that as a quote unquote like music fan or slash country fan, mine was always very limited. And it's from what I've learned on this podcast. We've done like the Merle Haggard retrospective. We've done Loretta Lynn. We did Steve Earle, Guitar Town, and we've done some really incredible artists. And that was the country that I really started digging on. And
Good.
then immediately, and this is what's so cool, is that immediately, watching your set, I fell in love. And you know it because I would sit side stage and like, first of all, you know that you had half of the guys on tour, like in our band, in Struggles band, watching you, and Joe from Jelly's band. Just, we all had a pack. So we could all hear the fucking board sound, and we would just be emotional watching you because not only are your songs incredible, but lyrically, I mean, you're one of my favorite like singer-songwriters and storytellers. That I mean, I'm going to say this that I currently like right now. I mean, the new album is great. Tell me before we even get into Patsy, like tell me about the new
Yeah.
record, tell me about the tour, tell me everything that's going on in Ashley's world.
It was wonderful being with y'all on the Jelly Tour. And
Yeah.
there's not a higher compliment in the touring world than to look side stage and see the other musicians and the other
Yeah.
entertainers
Sure.
looking on. So, we were out in support of Jelly, we were out in support of Eric. We did fairs and festivals, and then now that we're exhausted, it's time for our tour. And I love touring in the fall because you just kind of feel like you're an endurance monster right now because you give everything you can every night, and now we get to give it all for the Devil I Know
Yeah.
tour every night. And I'm so proud of this record. I'm so proud of us because we didn't. No one outside the doors of the studio was allowed to have any input whatsoever in making this record. We didn't ask or listen to anyone from a label of any kind
Good.
if they had a suggestion. Um, we didn't, and when it comes to management, they're all just rock stars anyway. They're all just like, yeah, cool, dude, I love that song. Like when I brought
Yeah.
them on the last record, I was like, I think I'm gonna cut styrofoam, and they were like, that sounds awesome. Like they're so trusting. And we really just put our arms around each other, and if this was like a sports movie where everybody feels good at the end, right before the big game, we all just kind of looked at each other and grinned,
Yeah, dude.
like,
You
this
knew
is
it.
it.
Yeah, you knew
Yeah,
it.
so I love this record. There are moments on it that are more tender than we've ever been, and I'm happy that that's the case. There are moments on it that are so straight up traditional country that it offends some of mainstream country's sensibilities. I love that too.
Yeah.
And there's stuff that's so rock and roll that people are like, I don't know if I would call this country, and I'm like, I don't know if I asked you to.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's two
dude.
kinds of music you want to listen to and music you don't, and I don't care what the other genre or subgenres are that we stick on there. What I know is out with y'all and being with Jelly's crowd, it showed me that this is the audience that I've been missing, existing within our crowd, because it's just there's just something magical about it. And I can walk out and sing "Shut Up, Sheila," and there's the GD is in that song, and in
Yeah.
normal mainstream country radio audiences, unless it's our audience, if you're out in support of another act, if you say GD on a country stage, you are the worst ever. But with Jelly's crowd, I can go out there and say, if I want to throw the ashes off the goddamn roof I'm going to, and
Yeah.
they're like, yeah. So it
Yes.
was it was great. I love this. I love everything about what's happening in our tour. We've never had stage production before, so we've got that now. And I don't mean pyro and CO2. We can't afford
Oh.
that still. You're welcome to bring a
I
lighter
was,
though.
yeah, I was gonna say, you guys have pyro? You have
No,
pyro
I
to Brenda
wish.
put your bra on?
Oh my
Just,
God. I do throw bras at people though in the show.
oh my God, you could do, I can't tell the audience is that there were so many different, every show, somebody's throwing bras on stage. And I
Yeah.
think, I don't know, would you always just take whatever was the biggest one and just hang that up on the mic
Yep.
stand? Yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah. Whatever's the biggest or like most flashy, we'll just hang this up. Look at this tit sling on this mic stand, everybody.
Well, you know what's funny? I love that you
Hmm.
said something about, wait, go ahead. You have more?
I was just gonna say the the now it's part of my show every night, and I started saying it during the Jelly tour, because normally I would say, I'm Ashley McBryde, these are my guys, and we're going to play a whole bunch of songs we made up. Now I say, I'm Ashley McBryde, these are the men I make music with, and this is country music. And I loved saying that on the Jelly tour because it's struggle style, it's Jelly style, it's mine, it's you. Like this is country music. A
Yeah.
bunch of different kinds of people really enjoying the moment. And I've adopted that and put it in our show full time.
I love that that you said what you said about your record, and that'll segue into Patsy too, because this is what I love about music, and I sometimes hate about labels is, you know, The Devil I Know, that song is not a country song by any means. It's just
No.
like, if you can talk to Jelly, it's just like Need a Favor is, yes, it might have a like a fiddle in it, but it's a rock song. It's 100% a
Mhm.
rock song. And even this music by Patsy that we're about to start talking about, I don't think this is country at all. These are the standards of, this is Americana standards that Crazy might have a twang to it, but there's nothing about it that says, this is what is it, Okie from Muskogee, or just anything that really has that big country feel. So I don't really even think that sometimes, when you, like you said, when you're writing it, you're like, I don't think I'm trying to write a country song. You're just trying to write a song.
Right. I just
And
want to write a song,
yeah, and
something that
and
we like.
yeah, and I mean this completely. It's like I've since I've become a fan of yours, since we became friends. I mean, I've gone through your whole catalog, and it's like I've never really thought you could fit you into the box of just, this is a straight country artist. You're just an artist, and I think the same thing applies to someone like Patsy, or or Jelly or any, or even Struggle, like all the people that we worked with have, like, they're just artists, and the music just goes whichever way that they're kind of writing. And it's like, when you were putting together this record, like, who were you listening to, or what were the influences, or what was coming into you as the music was coming out?
Oh, wow. I can't even think of what we listen to because before we go in to make a record, we go into this little concrete building in East Nashville,
Hmm.
and it's purple, so we just call it the Purple Building. It's got a really primitive PA, and we sit in there with iPhone work tapes, and I play 20 or 30 songs, and we select which ones we want to start working on, and we try them, several of them in every flavor. Let's play this song as just a straight up country song. Now let's play it as though we're a drunk in a bowling alley bar. Now let's play it as though it's jazzier or whatever, just to see what
Yeah.
they're supposed to be. Because can you imagine if we had played Blackout Betty as a straight up traditional country song? It would,
That
because
would
that's
work.
not what it is. So I just want to be in the britches I fit in. So that's, I can't remember what all we've been listening to, but I'm a really big fan of Hayes Carll, Turnpike Troubadours. These these are records that I can trust because these musicians and these songwriters are not ever pretending to be something else. They're not putting lipstick on a pig. They're not calling a turd a tulip. They are saying, these are our songs. And if you love that, great. And if you don't, it's okay. I didn't need you to.
Yeah.
And I think that's the stuff that you can keep in your ears safely. Like there's a Linda Ronstadt record that I listen to a lot. You can keep that in your ears safely because it's not secretly trying to spoon feed you the idea that such and such is country
Yeah.
or this or that is country.
Yeah. Oh man, I think that's what's so easy to really like grasp. It's like what I loved about listening to your arc of different records is that, like, some have been like, oh, this is a country song, or okay, this has that feel. But like you had mentioned, like "Shut Up, Sheila," and like the way you said, like saying like "God damn" in that, like that's going against everything in the country world, which is like using God's name in vain, and even probably the message of the song too, because
Yeah.
that was one that Joe told me about. Joe's the keyboardist for Jelly, but at one point he played with you as well, right?
Oh yeah.
um yeah, and Joe and me became friends, and he was like, he was the one that said, yeah, really listen to that song. And that's become like, I mean, that's such a great song, Ashley. And even just like, I mean, before we even get into Patsy, 'cause I swear to everybody, we're going to talk about Patsy, but I'm
We
just having
will.
fun.
We will.
I'm just having fun talking to Ash. Like, "Shut Up, Sheila" is a song that if you've never heard it, I think that's one of a great ways for, like, maybe "Bible in a 44" is another
Yeah.
song to really introduce you to an audience. But "Shut Up, Sheila" is a song about it, roughly. Do you want to explain it? It's a you're somebody. It's a funeral, and here, just please talk about it, and just how did
Yeah.
that come up?
It's one of the rare songs that we've cut that I didn't write. In my longtime co-writer and one of my best friends, Nicolette Hayford, wrote that song. And when she first sang it to me in like 2015, I said, I no one else is ever going to cut that song. I need that. Do not let anybody else cut that song. I've got to cut it because it is me. So in this situation, true story, her grandmother was in the process of the last stage of life and going to meet the Lord. And her uncle's girlfriend was just chirping away about what people should be doing and shouldn't be doing. And then once Granny had passed away, they took her ashes to a location and didn't know exactly which way to spread her ashes. And they tried different things. They tried throwing some. They put some on a frisbee with some tanning lotion and threw it into the ocean. Like, and you should really have a conversation with Nicolette Hayford sometime because this story is amazing. But
Yeah.
what Nicolette did, I mean, they were drinking moonshine and like they put Granny in a bottle of Coke and shot her out with Mentos, and this Sheila person is like, we shouldn't be doing this, and this is not, it's not biblical, and da da da. And finally, the only one with the balls to say it, and it's me and my family, but in Nicolette's family, it's her. And she says, would you just shut up? So this song in that chorus, it says, we don't sing Amazing Grace We don't read from the Bible. We just go about letting go in our own way. And we
Yeah.
drink and we get high and we laugh at the wrong time, but we don't cry and we don't pray. And I was raised in a very, very strict Church of Christ, very fundamental religion and very fundamental household. And that was me. And I was always the one getting the shit knocked out of me because I was always like, that's not how I handle things.
Yeah.
And I think playing that song live, it's so wonderful to see people receive permission to say, I don't sing Amazing Grace at funerals. That's not what I do. And if
Yeah.
that is what you do, cool. And if
Yeah.
it's not, also cool. And if there's somebody that needs to be told to sit down and shut the fuck up, tell her.
Yeah. So how did you get into music then? Like, because I want to bring it. Like, how did Patsy Cline come into your life? Where you're because it's a very religious household. Is something
Yes.
like Patsy Cline? Would your parents be okay with you listening to her?
Absolutely, because country music, um, in really, how do I say that? In really strict households, if you think about the fundamentals of country music, they would have thought, it's about God and family and things like that.
Yeah.
And Patsy Cline would have fit into that category for them, even though when you listen to those songs, that is not the case.
Yep.
Um, Country music was totally allowed at our house. Some rock and roll in the form of oldies was welcome at our house, things like that. But there were no instruments in the church. We were allowed to play instruments at home if we wanted to. Um, but Patsy Cline is such a, I don't want to say she's part of the fabric of country music. I want to say she is one of the fabrics.
Yeah.
There's not a world that any of us exist in where that's not the case. There's not her coming onto the scene and us discovering her. This is what country music is. She's a huge representative of it. And to me, I've texted you this before. Patsy Cline is the queen of country music.
More
And
than
and
more.
um,
Yeah. I was gonna say
I
not
won't
more than.
refute. I won't refute that Reba McEntire is the queen of country music. She is. She is
Sure.
in the modern age. But
But there's no
prior to Reba,
Reba. Yeah, but there's no Reba without Loretta, and there's no Loretta, I think, without Patsy, and so on and so. Am I right about that? Like,
yeah, and Loretta and Patsy and Tammy, all of that entire era, um, country music doesn't ever get to be what it is now without those three.
yeah. What I mean, we did Loretta Lynn's album. Oh man, it was like right when I first started doing this podcast, and I fell in love with her and her story. Growing up like dirt poor, and and having that was it the whatever her boyfriend, husband's name. They had that really cool name. I can't think of it, but
Yeah, it's like
um,
it was like
it
Mooney.
was something like that. Yeah, it was like not like Chopper, but it was. Look it up, Adam. By the way, that's Adam up there, the guy that looks like he's in a comic book store in New Jersey.
What's
Um,
up, Adam?
How you
Listen
doing,
to this.
Ashley? Sorry, my
There it
kid
is.
home
There's that thick
my
New Jersey
4-year-old is
accent.
behind me, and it doesn't bother me at all when I'm doing work that I could not. But when we're live and recording is when she has
You're
annoying
killing it.
punishment. So.
You're killing it. But that was, and I thought Loretta Lynn had a tough life, and then we started prepping to do this podcast, and I had no idea that Patsy died young,
Oh
and
God, yes.
like really, but I'm talking. For people that don't know who Patsy Cline is here, I'm going to try to give you guys a very, very quick breakdown of her life. She's born in 1932 in Winchester, Virginia. Her mom's extremely young. Where could we go? She's abused by her father, which later she confined in another friend, and she wasn't going to talk about it, but somebody else brought it up in a biopic. At age 13, she's hospitalized with a throat infection and rheumatic. I don't know if I said that right. Rheumatic fever. Yeah. Her heart, even this is crazy. This is not to say like it's she developed this horrible throat infection. Her heart even stopped beating. The doctor put her on an oxygen tank. They didn't think she would be living that long. She gets better from the throat infection. But from that, she has this booming voice. posts all that. So I guess something good did come out of that. She starts singing. She starts performing at her local Baptist choir, doing her mother and daughter. Mother and daughter also performed duets at church social events. She taught herself how to play the piano. She gets interest, really taking it into trying to be in the career, and that's where he picked it up. Where at about 15. This is what I love. She writes a letter to the Grand Ole Opry asking for an audition. Several weeks later, she receives a return letter from the Opry asking for pictures and recordings. And at the same time, Wally Fowler, a performer of gospel, headlining a concert in her hometown, convinced concert employees to let her backstage, where she asked Fowler for the audition. Following a successful audition, her family receives a call asking for her to audition again for the Opry. So she travels overnight with her mother and some family with limited finances, slept in a national park in the following morning. Her audition is well received. She's expected to hear from the Opry the same day. But later, she never receives the news. She returns to Virginia and just constantly keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And finally gets the song that really breaks her is Walking After Midnight. Became her first major hit. Yeah, what a great. I mean, this is what was so great when we started doing this. Like, and I want to go back to talk about some of the stuff I just brought up. But this music, I think I messaged you, is I've been listening to Patsy for the last week, and being that we mentioned Walking After Midnight, all of her music, I mean, it is perfect music to have on background in your house. It adds so much depth to anything that you're doing, whether you're cleaning or whether you're walking the dog on the street or anything. It is the most easy, listenable music probably out of any record I've done on this podcast. So was this the music that was just playing in your house when you were growing up?
Yeah. And when you hear Walking After Midnight or Sweet Dreams, and the way her sweet dreams, the way her vibrato was, the way her voice was, is so, it's inviting, but it's also haunting.
Yeah.
And it's like, the fact that she had such a rough go for her entire life is of course it's part of that sound, but you can hear that. And even as a kid, I didn't know what that was. I just knew that it was attractive and addictive.
Yeah.
And how did she get to sound that way? I want to sound that way. Even when she sings Back in Baby's Arms, I'm back in baby's arms. What a happy song. And also you're listening to it going, man, something was hurting. Something was hurting in this person. I do get to grow up listening to Patsy Cline, and where I lived in about the fourth grade, I think I started working there, but it wouldn't be until probably middle school, maybe. There's a dinner theater in like the neighboring town.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in like Mammoth Spring, Arkansas. This is in Hardy, Arkansas. This is a town of less than 5,000.
Small, yeah.
There
Very.
is a dinner theater called the Arkansas Traveler Dinner Theater, and I get a job singing Patsy Cline songs.
No way.
Yes, but it's a dinner theater, so I'm also a server. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, so, oh my God, and the menu was amazing. There's like pot roast and butter beans and potato rolls. And I love that when we put other foods before a food, like potato roll,
Yeah.
butter, bean, like it.
Yeah.
And so I'm I'm like, would you like some more sweet tea? And then the track would start and I need to run up to the stage in a turquoise shirt with white fringe on the back, a cowboy hat set way too far back on my head because of lighting. The folks need to be able to see your face. And I can just run up there and go, sweet dreams of you. And then after I'm done singing that song, I jump back down and I'm back to serving plates, because I was the pre-show entertainment.
Sure you were. Sure you
And
were.
the local duo that had written the play that was for that season was called Dreams of Hank and Patsy.
Okay.
And it was about two people that owned like a gas station or a diner or whatever. And the music was Hank songs and Patsy songs.
Sure.
So I get to grow up on it, and I get to grow up performing it and wishing and that I knew her and picturing what it would be like to be her. What a lucky thing for a girl who her only dream was to grow up and be a country singer, and I got to pretend to be one 4 nights a week at a dinner theater.
4 nights a week as you were schlepping fried okra
Yes.
And did that ever happen? You were like, crazy, I'm crazy. Oh, you need some extra ranch? Okay, okay. I'll be feeling so lonely. Sweet
Yeah.
tea. Okay, it's coming.
Right. You're like, I'm singing right now. I'll be right there. Thank you.
What do you have any? Do you have like do you have any like the one story from that era of doing that? The one that you'll like, do you have anything that's just like where you drop something or just an embarrassing or just,
It's
you
really,
fucking, you're
you know what's
pre-bussing
really
and killing it?
embarrassing that we don't give enough credit to
What's
being
that?
embarrassing? Hanging a toe on something as you're just regular walking. And plus I'm in middle school, right? So it's even more embarrassing. I hung a toe getting onto the stage. I didn't fall all the way down, but talk about the fourth wall coming down.
Sure.
They're expecting this young woman to go and be Patsy Cline for 3.5 minutes. And instead, I was just clumsy old Ashley, just trying to stumble up the steps. I loved it. I'm so thankful for that place even existing. What are the chances in the whole universe that in a teeny, teeny town,
Yeah.
there's a dinner theater? Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I love that because who knows if you don't take that job, we're not having this conversation. The devil I know doesn't exist. You might not be, it's a totally, alternate universe. Same thing with me. Whereas like one of the a job I was like thrown into was being a bar mitzvah wedding DJ, and I had no idea that that would influence so much in my life, where the energy and all the shit that I did with Jelly is just a combination of me, playing music as a kid, being funny as a kid, and then being a bar mitzvah DJ, and then it all just kind of, comes to a point, and then that's what you are in your career. I love stories like that, and I love when it sounds like a shit job, but in actuality, it's like you get to go out there and be a performer in this incredibly small, you're saying 5,000 people and they just so
Yeah.
happen to have this dinner theater place. Well,
Yeah.
you're extremely lucky for that. I wanted to mention before, because her talking about the Grand Old Opry and writing a letter to
Yes.
that, for someone that doesn't live in that world. So I'm saying, like, if you don't know the South, if you don't know country music, please explain to everybody what the Grand Old Opry is and how important that place is to everything in country.
The Grand Ole Opry it may be the longest running radio show. We're celebrating 100 years
Okay.
this coming up here. There have never missed a Saturday broadcast. They shut down the broadcast one time, and it was the night that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. And out of respect
Sure.
for that moment, they did stop broadcasting for the night. Even during the Great Separation and all of that, broadcasting still happened. There were 10 people in the entire building of the Grand Ole Opry, and 3 of those were performers each night.
Wow.
So we continued the broadcast and all that. So if you're completely unfamiliar, let's say what you love is you love movies and you love
Okay.
acting,
hmm
and all through your childhood, you've seen footage of the Hollywood sign and that feeling that you got and what that represented. The Grand Ole Opry is that for country music. It is the Mount Everest or the Mount Rushmore, whatever gives you the oh my gosh feeling.
Yeah.
It is it started out in the Ryman Auditorium, and that is we call it the Mother Church. It is the birthplace of country music. It's one of the things I started playing the Grand Ole Opry June 16th of 2017. And I'd been dreaming of it my entire life. This is when people are like, how did you know you made it? This is one of those I made it moments.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here talking to you now as a member of the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, dude.
And it's the biggest thing that can ever happen to you. It's bigger than getting a Grammy, being a member of the Grand Ole Opry.
Which you did as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. But
Yeah.
so either way,
And also, if you're unfamiliar, in the center of the stage at the Grand Ole Opry, some of us refer to it as the Sovereign Circle of Oak, because when the Grand Ole Opry moved from the Ryman Auditorium to the Nashville Opry House, they cut a big circle of the original stage from the mother church, and they placed it in the stage so that that reverence and all of that can continue in this Opry House. There was this gigantic flood in 2010 in Nashville.
Mm.
And a bunch of us lost everything. We lost all of our instruments because of where we all store things and all that.
Yeah.
Well, the water starts to rise, and right there where the Opry House is, the river, it's right on the river. The river rose 19 feet. So while the water is rising, members of the Grand Ole Opry rushed into the Opry House and cut the sovereign circle of oak out of the stage and took it to higher ground. This is an absolutely sacred thing, the Grand Ole Opry. And when you're standing in the circle every night, first of all, I don't stand directly in it until I've dipped a toe in. I like to pay respects and then step in. And you can think about, if you just name it, they've been on the stage. If you want to go like Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, they've stood here. If you want to go Dolly Parton, she stood here. And for me, it has always been Hank Sr., who is the reason we can't drink at the Grand Ole Opry, by the way, and Patsy, knowing that my feet are standing not just in the same place, but on the same wood.
Yeah.
That she stood on.
Mm-hmm.
It'll move you to tears damn near every time.
I bet. And you know what I love about country music, and I feel like this music more than any, maybe hip hop for years was like this, but I feel like it's dropped off. Country music is the one music where they really want, how do I explain this? It's like where the artists before you that did this. So in a sense, like the people that got you to do this, they're almost honored in a way stronger. Like the lineage of country music is just as important, now as it's always been. So it's like there's always honoring the people of the past. And like you said, like the Grand Ole Opry and getting invited into that is not only like, hey, am I making music in this time and it's great, but it's like because I'm taking the torch from Hank or from Patsy. It's like it's almost like it's almost like there's a course, a college course. Like, is that something that like as you start getting into music, it's almost like they give you a textbook and you're like, so this is how you got here. I
think it's more that you kind of find out what a dork you are, what a nerd you are when it comes to country music. I do it all the time, where a song will come on, or we'll be listening in our dressing room to somebody's playlist, and I'll be like, who wrote it 10 points to whoever. And so where were we the other day, and John Deere Green came on, and they're like, oh, I love Joe Diffie, and I was like, but who wrote it? And oh, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, Dennis Lindy. I'm going to ask you every time a Dennis Lindy song comes on, who wrote it? Yeah. I think there's no textbook, but we love it so much, and we start out as fans of it. And then when we decide that I have to do this, it lives inside me to do this for a living. And if I don't do it, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And then you go down every rabbit hole. Then you find out, you're like, who was that dobro player on that Alison Krauss record? Oh, that's Jerry Douglas. What else has Jerry Douglas played on? And you go down that rabbit hole. Try that with Vince Gill sometime. Thousands of records. This guy, Vince, is an amazing guitar player.
Yeah.
Or you'll pick a songwriter. One time I got a song stuck in my head, and it was I guess it would have been on a rock station back then. It was Chevy Van. And it was by a guy named Sammy Johns. And I got that song stuck in my head. And then I was like, I wonder who else has recorded this. Sammy Kershaw in country music has also recorded it. Eric Church. Yeah. You start doing that, and you start gathering information. You have this little tiny country music hall of fame in your brain. And whatever your thing is, if it's drummers or guitar players or bass players, oh, so-and-so played on, like if you listen to our Lindyville record, and you're like, God, I love that drummer. Yeah, it's Sheryl Crow's drummer. That's Fred. Great. Look up everything he's been in.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think we're just big nerds about it, and it just comes natural to you in country music to pay homage and to honor those that made it possible for you to be doing it.
Yeah. I definitely feel that in any genre out of all of them, I feel like country constantly is honoring what happened before and how we got there. It really is. It's for someone you just kind of new to this world. It's like this. It's this beautiful, beautiful thing. It's like it changed everything I thought about what country music was. From an outside perspective, a guy that listened to rock music and grew up. I'm born in '79, in the '80s and the '90s, as you're kind of coming of age. The country music that was made there, not all of it I liked. I heard some stuff. I was like, oh, this is catchy, but a lot of it wasn't the era. But it's like going back when you listen to Patsy or you listen to Merle or like you said, Hank Williams Sr. I mean, it's some of the best music. Like if you can't listen to this Patsy Cline career retrospective and at all once get bored with it, feel like it's excuse me, tacky or unoriginal, or it is some of the purest music. And then finding out about the Grand Ole Opry, which you became a member. And if I'm not mistaken, did Garth Brooks has something to do with this? Like, can you take us through that?
It's a big thing to be invited.
Yeah.
There's certain criteria you have to meet. And when you are invited, typically your invitation looks like this. You are performing at the Opry like you normally would. And suddenly there's another Opry member on the stage, and you would immediately know why. Because they're about to either stop your song or wait till the end of your song and say, I'm standing on this stage right now. I am here to ask you a question. And that's not how mine happened.
How did yours happen?
I was doing a morning TV show. I was on CBS, and I was there to talk about the record. I was there to talk about Lindyville, and I was there actually talking about the horse accident. And in the middle of all of this, a screen comes on, and it's Garth's face. And they were like, oh, look, Garth Brooks is here. And I was like, that is really weird. Hi, Garth. And then my brain is moving a bajillion miles an hour. And I was like, I wonder if he just like loves the Lindyville record and that he's just coming on TV to tell me that, because it's a very Garth Brooks thing to do. Always classy and always bigger than someone else could do it. And then I was like, ooh, I wonder if he wants me to come do shows with him. I wonder what this is going to be. And if I'll just shut up for a minute and look at where he's sitting.
Yeah.
He says, Ashley, I'm seated in the circle right now. You know what I'm about to ask you. Would you do us the honor of being the newest member of the Grand Ole Opry? And I'm on live television and I'm just trying to keep it together. And then to top that off, Gayle King says, and who's the lady in the blue top in the studio? And I was like, none of my team is in a blue top. And I look over and it's my mother. They flew my mother in. They flew mom to New York to witness this invitation. And it was just the most moving thing ever.
Oh my God. That's awesome. That is really awesome.
So the person that invites you to be a member of the Opry, they ask the Opry members who would like to issue this invitation.
Yeah.
So Garth was able to do that. And then he texted me later and said, by the way, I raised my hand to issue your invitation, but you get to choose who performs your induction. So I called Terry Clark. And because I've been a fan of hers for a long time and we're friends now, and said, would you please do my induction on that night? Because they give a speech and everything. So it's just huge.
Oh my God. That story gives you chills. It's so perfect. And well deserved. I mean this, like Ashley, like you know how much of a fan I am of your music, and I continue this day just to not just root, but it's like I can't wait to see where your music is going to go. Very much like from a friendship of just you being just a great person to just being like I'm so much of a fan of this shit that you're doing.
Thank
that
you.
It's just that I mean it. It's like I love your shit. And there's maybe what to say is that I was reading right now while you were talking about that is about people that helped. And you mentioned Garth Brooks inducted you. She had this producer, Owen Bradley, that really helped shift her sound. And from that, she started achieving success. Who would you say was one of the biggest influences in your career to get you, to this place at the Grand Ole Opry?
I would say most importantly would be John Peets, who is the head of Q Prime South, because he was the person who gave me permission, very literally gave me permission to only make music that I want to make. Because I was a writer at a publishing house at the time, and you're told who to write for, what to say. It can't be this, it can't be that, it's got to be this. And John Peets sat in his chair across from me and said, "You officially have permission to only write the songs you want to write and to only make the music that's inside you." And part of that permission was introducing me to Jay Joyce, who is our producer. And Jay is a
Okay.
rock guy. Um, and so he's one of those people that if you were to say, "Oh, really? I don't really listen to country music," Jay would say, "I don't either." And he is a fantastic producer. He is willing to push you in directions that you kind of go, "What?" But if you'll trust him, just try it. And he's also willing to trust me when I say, I think I want to do this. He's like, "I don't know, it may flop, but we're here. We might as well do it." Um, I think the writers that I've surrounded myself with over the years, and I think having played in bars for over a decade and pounding pavement is that gets a lot of credit
Yeah.
for being worthy of an invitation to the Opry.
Yeah, it's hard. This is the thing. Stand-up comedy is hard because
I
you
can't even
know,
imagine.
but here's the thing, but and this is the thing is that I always like talk to like actors and I'm like, I'm like, how can you just be an actor? Like, how do you get discovered? At least with stand-up comedy, much like a musician, we're pounding that pavement. I hate the word the grind, but we're out every night doing spots, and somebody could see you that's that's a little bit bigger than you, and they can take you on the road. And I think that's the same kind of way it probably works in music. Like you said, you're out at that bar, you write a song, you're doing covers, but then you throw one of your originals in, or even they just see you do one of your covers and you blow them away, and they're like, "All right, I got a gig here. I want you for this." And so there's ways to kind of grow, and so they're very similar, but there is people where it's like you do need that one person to kind of see you, not just kind of like almost. It's like a friend always said, as you go up in your career and you get more successful, you reach down and you pull people up. And
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
who did
It
so? Would you say that would be like? Would that be who would be the person that kind of pulled you up?
it would be Eric Church. It would also be Miranda Lambert. Well, I was playing a festival on like the B stage or C stage or whatever in Chicago, and I looked over and Miranda was standing there watching my set. And I got to go say hi for just a minute. And I said, "I'll be at your show tonight." And during her show, right before she performed the song "We Should Be Friends," she said, "I'm going to send this song out to Lucy Silvas and Ashley McBryde tonight. We should be friends." And then shortly after that, I get to be first of three, me, John Party, Miranda. And
Mhm.
then a couple of tours later, it's when we did the Fooled Around and Fell in Love thing, that I got to be on a whole tour with Miranda, and I got to learn a lot from her. Also included in that category would be Luke Combs. I have toured extensively with Luke Combs, and we kind of popped on the radar at the same time, and his star rose so quickly. And he was wonderful to be on the road with. And I would
Yeah.
say I think I've learned the most from Miranda. And it helps that we're the same age, and but she's been doing it on this level much longer than I have. But I have a lot of respect for her. In fact, I nearly called her the other day because I was having a bit of a meltdown. So
Right on. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and all those people you just mentioned are all like not only just successful, but I mean, it's like they're all extremely talented artists. So what a good group to like have in your pocket as like people to call or just, like I'm extremely lucky with some of the people that are my Yodas where like if I get frustrated with something, I have Bill Burr, I have, Jim Jeffries, these guys that have, been extremely successful that give you great advice, but also it wasn't easy for them either. So
yeah,
that's like the best thing. And to bring it back to Patsy, it's like it wasn't easy for her as well. And I'm looking at some of the tracks that we had on this retrospective. We mentioned
yes.
Walking After Midnight, which there's a song, the girl that wrote this, it was not wrote, I'm sorry. It was given to her as K Star, who her label rejected it, and then it ended up going to Patsy Cline. And if anybody doesn't know who K Star is, there's a song that I love. One of my favorite songs of all time. It's called "Wheel of Fortune." And have you heard the song before?
I don't.
It's great. It was a so a lot of this music I used to be a wedding and bar mitzvah DJ, and I would do these different shows, and some of them would be like a birthday for an 85-year-old couple or woman or whatever, and they would the guys that ran the DJ company would make these CDs for me and put songs on it, and one of them was it would be like good background dinner music, and one of them was this song "Wheel of Fortune." So it's one of my favorite songs of all time. Listen to it, you'll definitely dig it. But that's who K Star is. She had sang it. She gave the song to Patsy Cline, which then Walkin After
Wow.
Midnight became her like biggest one of her biggest
Huge.
hit huge song, reaching number 2 on the Billboard country chart and number 12 on the pop chart. But also she didn't want to do this at first either. She wasn't very fond of it. When have you been wrong and for something that was so right?
Oh man. As far as like a song or
Just
thinking,
anything in your career. Like when have you been against something, but in actuality it worked out in your favor?
I would say the first single off the Devil I Know record, um, just recently, my label was like, Loud On in the Kitchen is the first single. And I was like, are you out of your mind? The Devil I Know is the single. And they were like, no, it's definitely Loud On in the Kitchen. And I was like, I don't know. I'm how is that right? Because
Yeah.
it's finger picky and acousticy, and how are we going to expect radio to play that? And they were like, we're telling you that this is the single. And it was the fastest rising single we had to
Really?
date. I was completely wrong.
I mean, incredible
I
song.
don't want to say that I was completely wrong, but I was initially wrong.
Yeah, well, look, I get it. The Devil I Know, that's the one off the record that I hum and sing. I mean, it's such a fun song. Your chorus, I love the way you write lyrics, like, mom says this, dad says that, doctor says that. I mean, that's like it's such a perfectly worded chorus. So I get it. It's a more fun song probably to play too, with the band,
Yes.
but it's like those ballads, look at Patsy. I don't think she has
Look at Patsy.
not one rock song. I mean, I Fall to Pieces
Mm,
is, it's one of some of the, this is what I love about this. The three songs that I really wanted to talk about are three of the most iconic country songs music. I Fall to Pieces, Walking After Midnight, and Crazy. I
yeah.
mean, these are iconic songs. Let's talk about I Fall to Pieces. Um, so this was released as a single in '61. It topped the country charts, crossed over onto the pop charts, became Klein's biggest hit. She was in. There's a lot of stories of her initially not wanting to do it. She didn't want to do the song. She didn't want to record it, uh, but her producer believed in the production. She didn't think it lacked. She thought it lacked enough country instrumentation. Um,
Okay.
eventually, eventually, Klein recorded the song upon the encouragement of a producer. It's since gone on to be an incredible country standard. I mean, like I said earlier, do you feel that these songs are country music?
I think when you look at Crazy,
Yeah,
if no one were to tell you that that was a country song, you're listening to a jazz leaning
yeah,
tune, because of the chord progressions and stuff. And I can see where she thought there wasn't enough country instrumentation. I guess maybe at the time for what country instrumentation was supposed to look like at the time. But in my mind, that is the countryest. I mean, I Fall to Pieces is the countryest song I know,
yeah.
and I can't imagine that having any different instrumentation. I mean, they are definitely in my world, they're country songs, but for where they were in country music's time, they were very forward leaning.
You know,
Um, those choices were forward leaning.
I just like I said, if you didn't say that this was from a country artist, the last thing I would ever assume was this was considered country music. But that's not a bad thing.
You
I think
consider
that's
it contemporary.
yeah, for sure. It's just like American standards. I also think "I Fall to Pieces" is one of the saddest songs, and it may like it could be the chord progression or whatever. In 2014, Rolling Stone named the song number 40 on its 40 saddest country songs of all time.
Yeah.
What would you say is the saddest? What do you think is the saddest country song or any song ever?
Oh, wow. Well, when I'm thinking of that song, when she says, it's the way she sings it too that makes it so sad. But
Yeah.
you want me to act like we've never met. Um, and then shortly after that, she says, and I've tried, but I haven't yet. Like
Yeah.
you that's definitely why that song is considered so sad because you can hear her trying in those moments. For me, the saddest country song that I play, like when nobody's around and I just want to play a sad song, is Sunday Morning Coming Down by Chris Christopherson. And
Okay.
Johnny
Yeah.
Cash recorded that.
Yeah.
Also, Sean Mullins recorded that later.
Wow.
Goes on the same album as Rockabye. That one is really sad to me, just because that chorus is, on a Sunday morning sidewalk, wishing Lord that I was stoned. There's something in a body, no, something in a Sunday that makes the body feel alone. Now that next section is, there's nothing short of dying that's half as lonesome as the sound on a sleepy city sidewalk, Sunday morning coming down.
Wow.
Yuck, right? You
Yeah.
feel that
Yeah.
hangover in your stomach. And I love that song. I love how sad it makes me feel because in country music, sad songs make us happy.
Oh my God. There's nothing I love more than putting on a song and getting emotionally invested in it. And then, whether it's a weep or it's just a single teardrop, it's just the most, it's just such a great emotional purge of negative energy with music that nothing else. Like I'll put on a sad movie, I can watch it, once and cry, and maybe a few months later, or a few years later, I can watch it and get emotional. But music, every single time, if I hear Vincent by Don McLean, like I'm gonna weep
Oh,
without a
yeah,
doubt, without a doubt.
yeah,
Um, Crazy. Let's talk about Crazy before we start wrapping this up, because we got to talk about
yeah,
how her life, what happened to her, unfortunately. Crazy is
yes,
a song written by Willie Nelson. I mean, this is the song. Would you say
yeah,
this is, if you're going to tie anything to Patsy Cline, this
yep.
is yeah. So in his book,
Someone who
Willie,
has never, ever, ever listened to a single country song in their entire life knows the song Crazy.
I mean, and it really deserves everything that it's ever gotten. This is one of the. It was listed as number 195 on the Rolling Stone magazine's 500 greatest songs of all time. Willie Nelson, who wrote it, could not find somebody that wanted to record it. And once again, Cline did not like the song. She asked her husband not to bring her any more of Willie Nelson's songs, saying that she did not want to record compositions that embrace vulnerability or loss of love. An account published by Nelson in his 2015 autobiography said that while drinking with Cline's husband, Nelson played his demo of Crazy on the bar's jukebox. Dick thought the song was good, that his wife should record it, and offered to take Nelson to his home to play the demo for Cline. Because it was after midnight, Nelson decided to wait in the car as Dick played the song for Cline, and she later invited him in, and then the rest is history. The song blew up on went to number 2 on Billboard Hot Country Singles. I mean, like we said, this is, she's performed this would I say she performed it at Carnegie Hall? But no, she's during a performance with the Grand Ole Opry cast at Carnegie Hall. Yeah, in 1992, Patsy's version of Crazy was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Yeah, I mean, this is I don't, words can't even explain just how good this song is, how important this song is. Is this one of the most important songs in country music?
By far one of the most important songs of country music's entire history.
Yeah.
There isn't there again, there's not a world where this isn't part of the brick and mortar of country.
I mean, just an incredibly beautiful song. You could see the people that's influenced, aside from you, but almost, and male or female. Patsy has influenced so many people in country music.
We all want to try to make others feel the way Patsy Cline's voice made us feel.
Yeah.
Or the first time you heard Crazy, when you were trying to first figure that out on guitar. That's why we're all on stages, is
Yeah.
trying to capture that feeling again.
Yeah. In 1973, Patsy becomes the first female performer to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. In the 80s, she's posthumous successes continued in mass media. There's a movie about her, if anybody wants to see it, called Sweet Dreams, starring Jessica Lange. There have been several documentaries. Her greatest hits has gone on to sell over 10 million copies, and the Guinness Book of World Records included greatest hits for being the longest album on any record chart by any female artist. And I mean, VH1 ranked her one of the 11th, one of the 100 greatest women of rock and roll. When I messaged you about how excited I was to do this, and I was like, oh man, like I'm really digging her music. And then you had mentioned like how if she would have lived or in just such a short career, two things happened to Patsy that, I mean, this is not an easy life for this woman, or any human being. In 1961, I Fall to Pieces comes out, but she's also, her and her brother involved in a horrible automobile accident.
Nearly died. Yeah.
Nearly died. Head on with another vehicle, threw her directly into the car windshield, extensive facial injuries, broken wrist, dislocated hip, large cut across her forehead, barely missing her eyes. This is she's basically, I mean, this is a horrible car accident. Recovers from that, starts continuing to write music. Then where is the and then she passed away in a plane crash. Plane
In a
crash.
plane crash.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky right now because one of the fellows that drives, I think he drives the crew bus right now, used to be the drummer for Kitty Wells,
Okay.
another member of royalty of country music. And Patsy and Loretta were good friends with Kitty. And so I can go sit in the jump seat anytime with him and hear stories. Oh, hang on. I don't know what this is. I'll send that away.
I was like, she disappeared for a second. She's back.
Sorry, that was weird. I can go sit in the jump seat anytime and ask questions and hear things that he got to hear from Kitty Wells,
Yeah.
And I was telling him, Marty Stewart, if you're a listener and you don't know who Marty Stewart is, he's another member of country music royalty, but he himself owns more country music artifacts than the Country Music Hall of Fame. He has lived a life that people understand when something needs to be preserved. If they either get it to the Hall of Fame or they get it to Marty Stewart. And 2 CMA fests ago, so I guess 2 summers ago, I get a call that Marty has brought some of his artifacts to our management office at Q Prime. I get to go and I get to hold Hank Williams Sr.'s very first instrument.
Wow.
It was a harmonica. I get to look at Roy Rogers' boots, Johnny Cash's first ever black suit, the all black suit, the man in black with hand sewn rhinestones and all of this. And my manager says, I want you to see this display that we're doing for CMA Fest. And this was just for people to come in and view at their pleasure. They had set up a bunch of suitcases and a record player around this stained glass area that we have that looks, it's a little churchy right there. And there's the Patsy Cline record playing in the corner and a pair of boots on top of the suitcase. And I walked in and teared up and I said, those are hers. These are the boots recovered from the accident.
Wow.
And I was telling this bus driver about it. I said, I got to hold Patsy's boots. And I just sat there and cried and cried and cried because, we're not worthy. I was just like, oh, and he said, she was such a lovely person. And Kitty had so many nice things to say about her. And she had some secrets that she confided in her as well. And those secrets went down with her.
Yeah. And you know what, Ashley, I think, listening to her music and being like, wow, this is haunting. It's, her voice, and it's like, there's so much emotion and so much depth. And then finding out the story, you're like, oh yeah, like she went through it and she's doing this way before, like, women's rights are what they are today. And like, and growing up also in the South, which you, like you said earlier, it's like, it's a different lifestyle. Like, parents are harder on the women, and it's just everything that she had to go through. And then of course what happened in her family, I mean, which is extremely tragic. It all makes sense to then hear those, not just the three songs that we mentioned, but there is way more to that voice than just, a girl with a good singing voice. Like, you feel
Mhm.
it, you understand it. And once again, from doing this podcast, it's like you're finding another artist that I know Patsy Cline is going to be in just my musical world. Like, this is going to be an artist that I put on whether I want to be sad, if I want to be happy. It's just like, you can just let this play and it will set a perfect vibe. And I mean, once again, like I said, I'm just so glad from doing this podcast to find out about Patsy, because I don't know if I would have listened to her on a whim
Yeah.
or whatever. And it's just like, dude, she rules. If you haven't listened to this greatest hits, everybody go and give it a listen. And before we get Ashley out here, let me just say, go listen to The Devil I Know. I mean, I'm so happy that I got to be on that tour with you, to watch you perform, to meet your band. Everybody that you've assembled in that lineup is such a good person, such good energy.
Thank you.
You guys are gonna be in New York on Friday. I'm leaving for Vancouver on Thursday, but Wednesday I'm doing a show at the Comedy Cellar, and I know you guys get in. So if you guys want to come
Yeah.
Wednesday night, because I got to take off early Thursday morning, but I'll talk to Victor and we'll work it out, and I'll text you about it. But
Okay, great.
I'm so bummed that I can't see you guys at Webster Hall. If you're in New York, because this comes out on Wednesday, go see Ashley at Webster Hall. Go see Ashley on the tour. When does it end? How many more dates do you have? You got at least.
We'll be off the road December 17th, but then we start right back. We have to be in Europe for most of January, but then we're
Yeah.
right back in the States.
Yeah, go see. I'm gonna try to figure something out so I can catch you guys. I'm so bummed about New York. All right, let me ask you these questions. I ask these to everybody. I threw one in that's a little different,
Okay.
but I'm very curious to get your answers. First song is, what's your favorite Patsy Cline song?
If you've got Leaving on Your Mind.
Yeah,
That's one of those when you go listen to it for the first time, that one makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. That it's just that if you got leaving on your mind, it's
yeah,
just ooh, and that next hurt me now, get it over. Oh, just the fact that she was bracing for impact on that heartache.
yeah.
It makes my shoulders feel a certain way.
I love how you just said that. Is there anything off of this greatest hits that you skip over, or is it just a straight from top to bottom? Is there anything that?
I can't name a Patsy Cline song that I don't love. There may be
Yeah,
some that I'm less familiar with, but there aren't
sure.
any that I go, I just don't feel this one.
Yeah, there's nothing on this that I skipped over. This is like I said, this is a very, very easily digestible record, whether you like country or not. All right. I ask everybody this. Can you fuck to this record?
You might get distracted listening. You might, or maybe that might just be my ADHD that it's like tries to fixate on the song. I haven't tried, and I will fix that as soon as I get home.
There you go. There you go. I feel like you can. I think it's
I
hot.
think you
It's
can.
very sexy. It's sad. It's emotional. This is like country music Portishead. Does that make sense?
Okay.
It's a weird analogy, but I think it's apt. All right, and this is a new question, and I want to ask you. It's a two-parter. One, is Patsy Cline on the Mount Rushmore of country artists, and who would be your five? Who is your Mount Rushmore?
Patsy Cline is definitely on Mount Rushmore.
Okay,
And if it's men and women,
men and women. Yes.
okay, I'm gonna have to have Patsy Cline. I'm also gonna have to have. I mean, you could make a Mount Rushmore off of Patsy, Tammy, Loretta, and Dolly if you wanted
Sure.
to. So I'll take Patsy, and I'll definitely take Dolly. When it comes to male vocals, I'd like to have Don Williams on there. And just because he's my favorite songwriter in country music, he's not everybody's favorite vocalist, but Chris Christopherson deserves to be
Yeah.
preserved in stone for everyone because he is a monument.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's what I was saying is like that was when we started doing the tour together, and Jelly, who's Jelly is such a huge fan of your music and you as a person, but he was the one that threw that up. He's like, dude, she's like, you're the female Chris Christopherson and your lyrics and everything. It's
Wow,
like you
thank you.
really do, man. You tell an incredible story in your music, and it's not many artists are doing that. So thank you. And final question. What would be your elevator pitch to get someone to listen to the music of Patsy Cline? Like, what would you say to get them to listen to it?
Hmm. Wow. Let's see. So I have to convince someone to listen to Patsy Cline.
Just an elevator pitch. However you want to, like, if you were trying to sell it, you're just trying to sell Patsy Cline to somebody.
So do you listen to country music?
I do.
Great. Well, you're gonna love this. Oh, you don't listen to country music? You're about to.
Yeah.
Let's say Patsy Cline. So we're gonna do Crazy, and if you've got Leaving on Your Mind, and you know what? We're gonna go Walking After Midnight. If
Yeah.
you listen to these three songs and you don't like them,
You're dead
I'll
inside.
give you $1.
Yeah, dollar. I can't. I couldn't. Like, but you're right. You're right. If you can't listen to just the three songs that we talked about or anything off this and not dig it, then I just don't think you like music. This is a perfect artist, a perfect record. Once again, somebody taken way too soon. I would have loved to have seen the music she would have evolved into making. But you can hear the influence not just in country artists, but in some of the singers, in every genre. Mary J. Blige. I'll put Mary J. Blige. She's influenced Mary J. I believe that. Something like Crazy. You can't get past her voice and how important she was. Ashley,
She's
thank you
as
so
much
much.
of an influence for vocalist as Aretha is to all of us.
100%, 100%. Ashley, I can't thank you enough for coming on, taking time off. I know you're on tour, and
I love it. And I'm so happy that we get to be friends. And I'm such a huge fan of stand-up comedy, and Quinn is as well. And after meeting with you and getting to tour with you, we have um, how do I say that? We've started again, we've reignited our desire to sit in the front lounge together and watch comedy specials. And
Oh,
it
I
is
love
bringing
that.
so much joy to our
I love
tour.
that. I love that. I can't listen. I'm excited to see what you guys do, and hopefully we get to link up on Wednesday. Is there anything besides the new record you want to promote? The tour, the new record. Just tell everybody. Just promote your credits one more last time, just so I can make sure everybody hears.
Yeah, check out The Devil I Know. We are so proud of this record. And the people, when you come to see us live, the people that you are looking at on the stage are the people that you were listening to on the record.
Yeah.
And when you look at our stage set, the people that made the sound on the record that you are watching play live, we also designed the set together. It's just a completely collaborative thing. And we are so excited to have you with us. So come do that.
Come to the shows, guys. I can't stress enough. Is such a great show. Your music is incredible, Ashley. The band, I love the energy, and it's the only band where she has a screaming drummer.
Yeah.
Quinn, it's just I don't even want to. It's just he's enjoying himself so much that in certain moments he just screams as loud as he can in an arena or in an amphitheater, even with amps and guitars. You could still hear that scream, and it
That's right.
just like it
Yes.
fills my heart with so much love.
And he plays drums the entire show like he's digging a ditch and
Yeah.
someone's gonna kill him if he doesn't. And that's kind of how we all approach playing the show. So just if you want to experience joy, and if you don't listen to country music, totally fine. Still
Yeah.
come to our show.
Come, I mean it. And listen to the new record and listen to her old records. Ashley, thank you so much for taking time out to come on, darling. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I love you too, buddy. I'll see you soon.